Caitlin Clark silenced every single doubter with one shot. And Angel Reese? She was losing her mind on the bench, watching it unfold in real time. That moment didn't just flip the energy in the gym, it drew a clear line between who was ready to lead the next era of Team USA basketball and who was still fighting their own expectations. What followed wasn't accidental. It was the beginning of a shift that had been building quietly for months. Before Team USA training camp even began, Sue Bird made something unmistakably clear. Caitlin Clark wasn't working her way back. She wasn't easing into form or testing the waters. She was, in Bird's words, 100% healthy, not 90%, not close enough, fully ready. And when Sue Bird speaks, people listen because she doesn't waste words or sell fairy tales. She understands timing, readiness, and what elite basketball actually looks like. What happened next proved she wasn't hyping a feel-good comeback story. She was issuing a warning to anyone who thought the league had moved on. The storm wasn't coming. It was already back. Clark walked into that gym carrying the weight of the worst season of her life. 13 games. Let that number settle for a moment. 13 appearances across an entire WNBA season for a player who had just rewritten record books as a rookie. Left quad, left groin, right groin, left ankle. One injury stacked onto another, each setback interrupting momentum just as she tried to regain it. The injury report read less like a routine update and more like a medical case study, especially for someone who had broken 62 records and was supposed to be ascending, not rebuilding. For a player whose identity is competition, sitting on the bench wasn't just frustrating, it was suffocating. Watching teammates battle while your body refuses to cooperate creates a unique kind of mental strain. You're present, but powerless. You're engaged, but disconnected. Every whistle, every possession, every big shot reminds you of what you're missing. And the longer it lasts, the louder the doubts become. But here's what most people never saw. While Clark rehabbed in silence, grinding through physical therapy sessions and rebuilding her body piece by piece, there were no cameras documenting the process, no workout montages, no dramatic comeback countdowns. She wasn't posting clips to reassure the public or quiet critics. She was simply working, day after day, strengthening what broke, correcting what failed, and trusting a process that offers no guarantees. In that quiet space, away from headlines and highlight reels, the narrative shifted without her participation. The whispers started to grow. Can she really come back from this much lost time? Will she still be the same player once the explosiveness is tested again? Did the league finally figure her out while she was stuck watching from the sideline? And the most dangerous question of all, did her body simply give up on her before her prime even began? Those doubts hung in the air long before camp started. They followed her into the gym. And whether people wanted to admit it or not, everyone was waiting to see if Caitlin Clark still had an answer. Then came the press conference before camp, and the tone shifted instantly. Clark sat down, looked directly into the cameras, and said exactly what everyone needed to hear. "I'm finally feeling 100% healthy." No hesitation, no qualifiers, but she didn't stop there. Clark added something that mattered just as much as declaring herself healthy. She admitted she still needed to shake off rust and rebuild her conditioning. That wasn't weakness or hedging. It was honesty. Real honesty. The kind that only comes from someone who understands the difference between confidence and denial. That level of self-awareness is what separates champions from pretenders. It's knowing exactly where you are in the process while being completely certain about where you're going and how you plan to get there. Naturally, reporters pushed harder. Was this confidence real, or was it brave talk after months of setbacks? Was she nervous stepping back into an environment filled with expectations? Did doubt ever creep in during the long nights of rehab when progress feels slow and the finish line keeps moving? Clark didn't overthink the answer. She didn't deliver a rehearsed response or try to sound inspirational. She simply explained that the moment she touched a basketball during warm-ups, before practice even officially began, everything felt right again. Not during a high-pressure moment, not when cameras were rolling or eyes were watching. The second the ball hit her hands, muscle memory took over. Footwork, rhythm, timing, it all returned without conscious effort. That's when she knew. Not intellectually, but instinctively. The game was still hers. Everything came back. Clark talked openly about the work that made that moment possible, the non-stop grind since the season ended, rehab sessions that tested her patience, recovery days that demanded discipline instead of adrenaline, rebuilding strength, restoring balance, and then pushing past her previous limits once her body allowed it. This wasn't about simply returning to form or proving she could still play. This was about coming back better than before, stronger physically, sharper mentally, and more prepared than she had ever been. And you could see it in her eyes. That same fire fans fell in love with during her rookie year never disappeared. It didn't fade during injury or dim during recovery. It was just waiting, quietly, steadily, until her body caught up with her will. Clark also spoke candidly about what being injured taught her, and she didn't sugarcoat it. She called it isolating, watching games from the bench, feeling disconnected from the flow, and knowing you can't help no matter how badly you want to. It changes you. She learned firsthand what her teammates go through when they're sidelined. She learned how to truly support from the bench, how to stay engaged without stealing attention, and how much leadership happens when no one is watching. But then she said something that should send a chill through every opponent in the league. She admitted she would have taken 10 bad games in a row just to be out there competing with her teammates again. 10 rough nights, 10 off performances, 10 struggles just to play. That isn't the mindset of someone who lost passion during recovery. That's the mindset of someone who rediscovered exactly why they play in the first place. Someone who came back not just healed, but hungrier. Then came the scrimmages. Clark stepped onto the court and the gym noticeably changed. The noise softened, conversations stopped, coaches watched every step she took, teammates studied every movement, every cut, every decision. The pressure was suffocating because this was the real test. Would she look like the same player everyone remembered, or would months of injury reveal themselves in subtle ways, half a step slower, a hesitation that didn't used to exist? She started cautiously, made the simple pass, played solid, disciplined defense. Nothing flashy, nothing that demanded attention. And for a moment, you could feel doubt creeping back into the room. Maybe the comeback wouldn't be immediate. Maybe it would take time. And then it happened. Clark caught a pass near half court, took 2 dribbles, and pulled up from the logo, the exact spot that made her famous. Same mechanics, same confidence. Zero hesitation. Swish! The gym exploded. Players jumped off the bench. Coaches clapped. That familiar sound, Clark's shot snapping through the net, sent chills through everyone there. In one moment, months of doubt evaporated. One shot. That's all it took. Sue Bird watched from the sideline with a knowing smile. Legends recognize legends. And Bird knew exactly what she was seeing, someone who never lost it in the first place. Clark didn't stop there. She followed the logo 3 with laser-sharp passes, finding teammates in perfect rhythm. Her court vision looked sharper than ever. On defense, she anticipated passing lanes like someone who hadn't missed a day. The rust was gone. The entire pace of practice changed. Energy surged. Passes got crisper. Defense intensified. Clark wasn't just participating. She was leading. Even when she missed a few shots, she muttered under her breath and kept pushing. That competitive fire burned just as bright. She also reconnected with Cameron Brink, a teammate she's known for nearly 9 years, dating back to their U16 days. That chemistry was still there, still strong. That logo 3 became the defining moment. It announced Clark's return more clearly than any press conference ever could. Team USA had found its leader for 2026 and beyond. After practice, Sue Bird and head coach Cheryl Reeve huddled together, smiling and animated. Their discussion centered on one player who had exceeded every expectation. Building a new Team USA identity around younger talent while maintaining championship standards isn't easy. They needed someone special, and when the decision came to elevate Clark immediately into the starting lineup, it caught the basketball world off guard. Some questioned whether she deserved it after missing most of her sophomore season. The coaching staff didn't hesitate. They'd seen enough. Bird publicly praised Clark's leadership throughout camp. Even while injured, Clark traveled with her WNBA team, stayed active on the bench, and remained engaged. That matters. That's leadership. Reeve emphasized Clark's basketball IQ and her ability to elevate teammates, especially alongside guards like Jackie Young. Behind the scenes, Clark's work ethic during recovery impressed coaches long before camp began. She stayed connected. She checked on injured teammates. Her character showed through the hardest stretch of her career. Then came the announcement. Clark would start at point guard for Team USA, Jackie Young at the 2, Brianna Stewart, Nafisa Collier, and Aja Wilson rounding out the lineup. The bench was stacked, but the message was clear. USA Basketball wasn't just filling a roster spot. They were betting their future on Clark's leadership. She accepted the role with grace and humility. Angel Reese's response, however, told a different story. Reese made the team, but found herself in a bench role. Reports quickly surfaced about dissatisfaction with playing time and role definition. As camp continued, frustration became more visible. While Clark focused on chemistry and leadership, Reese appeared increasingly concerned with her own status. The contrast was impossible to ignore, and it only became clearer as camp went on. Clark elevated teammates in every drill, whether she was running the offense, directing traffic, or simply making the right read at the right time. Her energy flowed outward. She made the game easier for everyone around her. Reese's energy, by comparison, seemed directed inward. Frustration showed in body language, in reactions to rotations, in moments that pulled focus away from the group. Coaches reportedly grew impatient, not because of talent, but because of approach. At this level, reputation doesn't earn minutes. Performance does. And just as important, attitude determines trust. Here's the uncomfortable truth that often gets danced around. Reese should consider herself fortunate to make this roster. She absolutely brings value as a rebounder and defender. Her physicality, motor, and toughness matter. But at this level of international competition, she is not a primary offensive option. She isn't the focal point. She isn't the system. And that's not an insult, it's reality. Every elite team needs role players who understand exactly what they bring and embrace it fully. Role acceptance is part of representing your country, and that requires maturity. In this situation, that maturity appeared lacking. Clark, on the other hand, earned her spot through merit and character, not hype, not entitlement. She showed leadership when she was healthy and when she wasn't. She proved she could elevate others, accept responsibility, and set a tone without demanding attention. Others struggled with expectations that weren't matched by performance, and that gap became impossible to hide in a camp built around accountability. And let's be honest about something many fans already believe. Clark probably should have been on the 2024 Olympic team. Not just because of talent, although that alone would justify it, but because of what she brings to the game on a global scale. Her presence changes attention, energy, and momentum around women's basketball in a way few players ever have. But that snub may have been the best thing that ever happened to her. Because now she's healthy, she's motivated, and she's positioned to lead Team USA into its next era with something to prove and nothing to apologize for. She isn't chasing validation anymore. She's setting the standard. The Logo 3 wasn't just a shot. The starting role wasn't just a lineup decision. The leadership wasn't just talk. This wasn't simply a comeback. It was a statement about who earned trust, who embraced responsibility, and who is ready to carry the program forward. So here's the real question. Should Angel Reese even be on Team USA with that attitude, if she can't fully accept the role required at this level? And if you think Caitlin Clark is about to dominate the next Olympic cycle, you already know what's coming next. Because this story isn't finished, it's just getting started.